Every map tells a story. The religious views of the city's founders, the dynamics of immigration, or how an ancient path became one of the most well-known roads in the world. This month, I took a trip to Vietnam and found that the maps of Saigon and Hanoi are no exception.
Very crazy.
These two cities have a lot in common, like the overwhelming amount of mopeds in both of them. This also includes elements of their maps. But if you look at them a little bit closer, they actually tell a much deeper story about all of Vietnam. This footage shows the last day of nearly 20 years of brutal conflict. This was the day the US left Vietnam, and the next day was considered the fall of Saigon. And this is now one of the most cited moments in Vietnam's history. In fact, if you know one thing about Vietnam's history, it's probably related to this war. But centuries of Vietnamese resistance to outside powers is written in the maps of its biggest cities, and shows the broader significance of the fall of Saigon, on a timescale much larger than just 2 decades. Something about the roads here is that when you cross, it's kind of just a free-for-all. You just kind of have to start going and know that they're gonna see you. It's literally playing Frogger. Vietnam is this long, narrow country in Southeast Asia with over 2,000 years of political history. Its borders are shaped by the Ammonite mountain range, and it has 2 major river deltas, one in the north and one in the south. The country's 2 largest cities are situated in these regions: Hanoi, the capital, in the Red River Delta, and Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon, in the Mekong Delta. I was traveling with my mom and one of my best friends, and we started our trip with a city tour of Ho Chi Minh.
Before 1975, you got to Saigon. And 1975, Vietnam War finished. In the year 1976, we named the city again after Ho Chi Minh. And nowadays, we can go Ho Chi Minh and Saigon, no one complains. But the official name is Ho Chi Minh City, and old name is Saigon. So you can choose, up to you. It's good? What do you call? I got Saigon.
So I'm walking around in Ho Chi Minh City right now, and I'm feeling a very distinct difference between 2 different parts of the city. Much of the city has very narrow, tight streets that to me feel like an endless maze. But cutting through these narrow, organic streets and alleys are wide, straight boulevards. And one whole part of the city, the main downtown, is laid out in a gridded pattern. And it doesn't take long to figure out where this comes from.
And this one like a Champs-Élysées, like a Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées in Paris.
Beyond the street layout, there is also a bunch of French architecture. Ho Chi Minh City even has its own Notre Dame, and all of the building material, including every brick, was imported from France. This is because in 1859, French naval forces sailed up the Saigon River and captured the city. This marked the beginning of the French colonization of Vietnam. France was getting a bit jealous of England's colonizing efforts, and they wanted to start their own. So they were working on something they were going to call Indochina, and this was going to be the capital. This included Cambodia and Laos, and was called Indochina because of its proximity to both India and China. With the region's resources and its strategic location along trade routes, France foresaw huge profits. A big part of this was to modernize the city, and this included basically making it French, creating huge wide boulevards and radial streets and big public parks. Part of this also included creating a districting system, or like a zoning system, where the French part of the city was going to be separate from the Chinese and Vietnamese sections. The city has grown a lot since then, but the district system that the French brought is still being used in the city. And it's not hard to see which is District 1 on a map. But for me, a couple things started to add up when I also looked at the map of Hanoi. I promise you this information is so much easier to take in from your couch or your desk or wherever you're sitting right now. When you're out here and you're like walking around, it is so muggy I'm sweating, and it just makes it hard to freaking focus. My brain just goes into sleep mode. But for you guys, I'm doing this. No, it's actually for Helix. I'm doing this for today's sponsor, Helix. Helix Sleep makes premium mattresses that are customized to fit your needs. When I'm on a trip like this and it's hot and muggy, I just want to climb into my own bed sometimes. Even if the trip is amazing, even if it's cool, it's especially hard for me on this trip because about a month ago, Helix sent me the most comfortable mattress I've ever slept on. I got the Helix Dawn mattress just shipped to my door, which is free shipping if you're in the US. And it was super easy to set up. I just pull it out of the box, unroll it, and let it expand to its normal shape. It's the perfect mattress for me because they have a sleep quiz that I took online, and it paired me up with exactly what I needed. Personally, I sleep on my back and on my stomach, and I need a more firm mattress, and I sleep a bit hot. So I was paired with the Helix Dawn mattress. And I also got the Glacio Tex topper, which is built in and helps me sleep cool at night. Not only do they have a 10-year warranty on their mattress, but they also have a 100-day sleep trial. But I can promise that you're gonna like it. You can still get 25% off from their Labor Day sale using the link at the top of the description, or by going to helixsleep.com/Daniel Steiner. So go to that link, get yourself a good night's sleep for the next eternity. So huge thank you to Helix for sponsoring this video, and back to the maps of Vietnam. There is a street here in Hanoi that is just a train track, essentially, and they build all of these little shops right along the train track, and the train comes through while everyone's eating and drinking, and it just seems like something OSHA would never approve, which makes it exciting and fun. We sat down with some waters and we were just having a drink, and we thought we had plenty of space, and they were telling us to scooch our knees back. It was a full-size passenger train. One of the main anchor points in Hanoi is this lake, Hoan Kiem Lake. But the oldest settled part of the city lies within this square. And right here was the key for me to begin to understand this place. On this map, from the year after the French arrived, you can see Thanh Long Citadel. This region had been occupied by a Chinese dynasty for nearly 1,000 years, and this citadel was built by the Vietnamese people once they had regained power and control. And it's built with ancient Vietnamese traditions. This map also shows where the city first sprouted. This was a district of commerce that was mostly built around the market of the citadel. Today, this section of the city remains mostly intact, and some of the street names even still have the same names of the commerce that used to happen on them. While it looks like the citadel only takes up this portion, there were actually several series of walls. When I was just walking through the old quarter, I came across one of the old gates of this citadel. It was built in 1749 and is still one of the best preserved gates. One of the last additions to the citadel is right here. Built in 1812, the Hanoi Flag Tower is still a major symbol of the city. But then, you're never going to guess what the French did when they got here, just 13 years after they had made it to Saigon. They built wide roads, they built boulevards and public parks and radial streets. Even though this neighborhood today is known as the French Quarter, the French affected much more than just this. You can see the roads to the south side of the lake are also French. They built an opera house, they replaced a Buddhist pagoda with a cathedral, and this one, surprise, surprise, also designed like Notre Dame. One of the open spaces that they used as a military parade and gathering ground is still a rare open space in Hanoi today. This is now known as Ba Dun Square. They also built trains and bridges so they could more effectively take the resources they wanted. So the French did occupy this city, and they did alter the citadel. But it was Hanoi that was the ancient capital, and it's actually from here that the country originally spread to the south.
So the North Vietnam, that's its original place. And then we moved out to the Central and the South Vietnam.
There was some population in the south of the Khmer Empire, the people who were responsible for creating Angkor Wat in Cambodia. So if Hanoi represents the ancient Vietnamese tradition, then Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City represents the foreign powers that were always kind of coming in and trying to take control of the country. Even the name of this lake, which means Lake of the Returned Sword, has ties back to fighting foreign powers. The legend is that an emperor was given a sword out of this lake to fight off the Chinese invaders. The first major difference between these two cities is their age. The citadel in Hanoi was established in 1010, and it would be another 600 years before Saigon was established. Saigon also had a citadel that the French used while they were there, but before they left, they made sure to basically completely destroy it. So the symbolism and importance of these citadels clearly carries some weight. When the French showed up to Saigon in 1859, they opened up the floodgates for a century of conflict. World War II was the beginning of the end of the French occupation of Vietnam. By the end of the war, France's allies, Japan, had taken control of the country. But when Japan surrendered, they withdrew from all their occupied territory, including Vietnam, and leaving a power vacuum to be filled. It was also during the war that Ho Chi Minh returned to Vietnam after 30 years.
So Ho Chi Minh was born in the year 1890. He came from the central Vietnam. When he was 21 years old, 1911, he left Saigon for France. He traveled to France first, and he moved to US 2 years. And he traveled to Russia long time, China's long time, Indian, Burma, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, around the world 30 years to look for the way to have the country. 1941, he came back to Vietnam, he became the leader of revolution. And he declared independence for the country on September 2nd, 1945.
But even though they had declared independence, the French still weren't done. They came back saying, hey, we're going to actually take this. This led to the First Indochina War, which lasted almost 10 years, but was finally somewhat resolved in the Geneva Peace Accord. Similar to how Korea was divided at the 38th parallel, the Geneva Accord divided Vietnam at the 17th parallel. The North was communist and the South was anti-communist and American-backed. The ultimate goal of the Geneva Accords was to unify the country through voting. But it was the first Indochina War, so we did get a second, and that election never happened. During 20 years of conflict, millions of people died. This war was particularly brutal, with both sides committing atrocities and war crimes. The United States conducted extensive bombing campaigns and dropped chemicals that still have a persisting effect on the population today. These chemicals also devastated the landscape that made this place so desirable to outsiders in the first place.
Most of the people here have relatives died during the war. I have 2 uncles died too. Horrible.
In Vietnam, they call this the American War, and in America, they call this the Vietnam War. The communist victory over South Vietnam was not so hopeful for everyone, which led to thousands of people trying to leave the country, and the conditions for these images. So after over 100 years, war after war, invasion after invasion, the fall of Saigon marked the beginning of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, the country we know today. During that second war, Ho Chi Minh died of heart failure on the anniversary of the day that he had declared independence. So from 1945 to 1969, Ho Chi Minh was in charge of northern Vietnam. Now the city carries his name, and it's his image that hangs prominently in the French post office. And of the many communist buildings in Hanoi, his mausoleum sits in a significant spot. Not only is it facing the square where he declared independence, but it borders the ancient Vietnamese citadel. And the renaming of Saigon to Ho Chi Minh and the building of Ho Chi Minh's mausoleum near the citadel in Hanoi was an effort to tie today's modern government to those ancient Vietnamese practices. So if you're looking for directions in one of these cities today, and you open up your phone and you're looking at Google Maps, you're actually looking at an image that tells the story of this centuries-old struggle for power. Thank you so much for watching these videos. It means the world. It makes all the difference for me. I have a Patreon that I'm getting more and more involved with, but if you want to support the channel, it's linked in the description, and I'll see you over there. If not, make sure you're subscribed, like the video, and I'll see you in another video super soon. Love you guys. Bye.